go. Good morning and welcome to the ridiculously early J Morning Show. I'm your host, Michael, and today we are continuing where we left off yesterday. I am working on this presentation tool, or not this presentation tool, but rather a, let's see, how about, where'd Firefox go? How about this presentation tool? We have editor input working to the point where we can type commands in J. This is a J REPL that is played back during a presentation. This is a presentation tool, so the top part is the output of the presentation, and the bottom part is the script of the presentation that I'm working on. And here we are seeing, as I type this word settle, or this command settle Y, it appears at the bottom of the REPL, and then the output would appear next. So we are working on getting the playback of this of these words to show up using an animation, and that is where I left off yesterday. We have that working, but it is running inside of its own little loop. If I run this program here, we're going to take the phrase "Hello World" and we're going to transform it into some other piece of code that whatever code is produced by this long macro. These are all macro commands that move the cursor around. These are pauses. These underscores are pauses. X is a backspace, and so on. So each of these is a command that you would use in the Vim editor, which is a pretty popular editor. I don't actually use it, so I'm slowly learning. I'm used to Emacs keys, so this is Emacs on the left here. And here we are running this exact program right here. Oops, so sorry. So it says, "Hello world." It is playing back this animation. My hands are not on the keyboard right now. This is all macro. And we have an error at the end that's complaining about this verb step. And that is because I did not implement that. So I left off the last program with the intent that this was all working. I even said it was working, and I said there was a bug. Well, the bug is that I did not implement this verb. So it's really easy to do. What we're going to do is we're going to go into the editor. And we already have a render verb in the editor editor widget, and somewhere in here we have an update. Oh, we do not have an update, sorry, because I have not implemented that yet, but we do have it in the main UI framework. So in UI IJS, we have a generic verb called UI widget, a generic class called UI widget. And so the way step works is we're going to have, okay, well, there's two problems. One is that, yeah, actually that we don't need that. I'm sorry, step goes in the application framework. UI app. So the app itself we step the app, and it is going to update all the widgets, which I have implemented yesterday. So basically we loop through all the widgets, and if any of them have the A flag for active or animated, if that flag is set, then we're going to call update on it using the delta, the time between the two frames, or the frame ticks. What we need now is a step verb. So we have update, we have render, and all we're going to do is on every step, instead of just rendering, which is what was happening before, we are going to say step is equal to the composition of render and update. This means that update runs first and then render. So update can, each one of these, the application's update will call update on each widget, and each widget can choose to say, to mark itself as dirty and in need of a refresh. So there's a flag called R, which is right here. So if it is both visible and in need of a refresh, then we will draw that widget. And so this should just now work. So I'm going to rerun this program, and that should be implemented now, and it should work, and it should not do anything special because we have not implemented update for any of the widgets other than this base implementation here, which is an identity function. So it does absolutely nothing. But let's run it, and it should, when we're done, now pass control over to me. So now this is J code that says sum the first 10 primes, and I am now able to control it with my cursor. And then also, it should be recording me. So when I press enter now, I should be able to see the log of what I just typed. And so here's me moving the keyboard back and forth with the H and, or the Emacs equivalent of Vim's H and L keys, backspacing a bunch to delete whatever was there, and here I am inserting the characters H, E, L, L, O. So that's our macro language. Actually, it looks a little bit like this. Get log of ed. It actually looks like this because we have this pause information in here. I'm still playing with this, but what I decided yesterday was that there is going to be a standard time for every key press. Hey, Garklin. And hello to GalQT and Sapnakor123. Welcome to the channel. So what I decided yesterday is that the implementation for pausing, which is the main thing you need to do in an animation for an editor. There's nothing to do except press keyboards and press keys and pause in between those keys. So that is going to be represented by this underscore, and I'm just going to treat it like any other key press where there is a random, a random delay, but random that is very close to the speed of a normal key press. So whatever the author of this presentation, whoever is making the presentation, we can say what's your typing speed? What typing speed do you want to show? And a pause will just be a key press. It'll be random, but it'll be random with an average of like 90 words per minute or 20 words per minute, or whatever you happen to type. So that's what the plan is. And then right now I'm just putting space, a dash 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 in here. Underscores for a pause that's twice as long. And it occurred to me yesterday that the same mechanism that we have for removing multiple in Vim, you can press a numeric prefix. You can type like 7 and then D, and it'll delete 7 things. Or I guess X would be delete 7 characters. So we're going to do the same thing. And so if a number is typed into the macro language, we can just repeat the same thing over and over again. And I might even, well, I was going to say I might even put a repeat or parentheses around it, but I think the only time we would do that was if it's something like this, where it's a sequence of pauses and key presses. So maybe the answer there is to use some kind of like tempo modifier. So going back to the idea of music. Okay, so that's where I'm at now. I'm going to leave this language just as it is. We fixed our bug, so I'm going to check in the code that we had from yesterday. So this says, these are the changes I made yesterday and forgot to check in. So we've added the update and animated or active flags, and we've added update and step to the app, as well as this now thing that grabs or then and now that grab the timestamp. So I'm going to commit both of these. Just make sure that I've got both the right files. Yes, I do. We're going to commit these, and we're going to say UI app add, or just UI add update method for apps and for widget and for apps and widgets. And step is in there too, but that's kind of implicit. Okay, so we're going to push that, and git fetch, git rebase, git push. So again, all this is going to github.com tangentstorm jprez. I don't know if that's the official name of this application, but that's where we're at. Although the user interface components that I was just working on, they are in jkvm, which is down here at the bottom. Oh, page not found. Thought I fixed that. Okay. Yeah, I absolutely did fix that, and I probably didn't check it in. Okay, well, what that should be is this right here, jkvm work. I'll go ahead and fix that right now. Anyway, so that's this is where the keyboard, video, and mouse framework is for the terminal in J. Okay, I'm going to real quick, I'll just update that README so the future visitors will not be confused. Yep, and just put that, sorry, oops, too many clipboards. And okay. So the REPL has changed a little bit. That was just changing this step, so I actually will commit that. Step instead of, so REPL step versus instead of render. And I believe that's all I changed in the README. Let's double check. README update the update or fix broken link. Fix link to JKVM. Okay. So yeah, so this is where you can go if you want to actually look at this code while I'm talking, or want to download it and play with it yourself. This is where the actual tool is. So far, this is everything here is pretty much a prototype, whereas JKVM is meant to be like I consider this kind of production, maybe not production ready, but it's on its way to becoming production ready code. Whereas this is very much a prototype. I'm still kind of sketching things out, trying to figure out what how I want this stuff to work. So that's kind of the organization here. Okay, and today's task is we are continuing with making macro animations asynchronous. So we have implemented step, that was done. Oh, actually, the main loop should call step app step instead of render, that is done. That was easy, both of these were one-line changes. All right, so argument to step should be the time delta since last step, that actually is implemented. An editor needs a flag or mode to indicate that it's playing. I've got that as well. Okay, so we did all that yesterday. Editor's update method should play the next character in the macro if it's animated. And that is where we go from, that is where we're at now. So right now, in the editor, we have this do function. So do is the player for these animations, and right now it is a loop. And while that loop is running, nothing else can happen. And let me show my application one more time. Cd jpres j. It was minimal J editor. That's also not the real name of this program, or the final name of this program. But the idea is that I will be using this to both to author and test presentations, scripted presentations, and so you'll see it. So on the right hand side here, I've got this cursor. This is a cursor for, this is almost like a teleprompter telling me what it is I need to say in my screenplay. But when I get here, this is going to show the text in the REPL on the screen as if I'm typing it. So I want the animation to play here. And since that animation is going to take some time to type, I don't want to, every time I am authoring this tool, I don't want to necessarily play through those animations. I want to be able to try them out and stop them and whatnot. So the animation itself has to be interactive. It has to be able to, for me and future users of this program, to be able to go in there and stop the animation and play it and so on. Sorry, it's so weird. I zoomed this camera in so that this mic was not in the picture. But okay, here you go. And then it just spontaneously changes back sometimes. I'm not exactly sure why. But whatever, not important. Okay, so yes, I am easily distracted. We're going to take this, and we're going to get these animations playing in this application, but not quite yet. We're not quite ready to do that because this application is in the event is in this event loop here that we just kind of briefly saw as I was making that change, adding. So here. So this may wind up being refactored a little bit too, because I started out with the idea that we had this, that we just had a keyboard loop in JKVM here. And there's a loop here, and it says, well, it's really, it boils down to, you know, it turns on the keyboard, it, you know, puts the terminal in the mode where it can handle one key at a time, and then it's doing this with keyboard loop. And it's calling a function called onKey, which is kind of like my default dispatch system. So this is onKey, and it's we looked at this a couple episodes ago, where we're handling it's mapping input codes to, like, you know, we got this input, so that means the user pressed the arrow key up, or the down arrow, the right arrow, and so on, or they move the mouse, or they press the F1 keys, or whatever, and so on. A couple episodes ago, we implemented the alt handler, which is up here somewhere. Yeah, KA. So it's mapping keyboard inputs to and then saying, okay, well, is there a function with this particular name? So if I press Alt C, then it'll look for a function called KA_C. So keyboard Alt_C, and then it'll execute that. And then the app framework kind of builds on this, and it provides the concept of individual widgets, each of those with their own keys. And it has the idea of a focus, which the intent is that as the focus changes, we will update the namespace in which you look for these keyboard bindings. So that doesn't happen yet. That's on its way. And right now, that what you just saw, like, that is the entirety of the event framework. There's, you know, read keys, and you get mouse events through the keyboard handler because of the way terminals work. So read keys, and then update all the widgets, and then if any widgets have changed, we are now rendering them to the screen. And so if we have a just as a proof of concept, we can just test this and make sure this works. We should be able to. Right. Okay. So I will do this. I'll make a second widget, and we're going to make. I'm going to do what I did in the. There's a demo for this program. So let's say we're going to call it co-current base co-current test, or we'll call it animated spinner. I'm going to make a little spinner, and I did this in the demo for JKVM. I believe it's in VT demo, maybe. Yeah, demo. And what it's going to do is it's going to draw these characters, but it's going to draw a sliding window of these characters. So this is what it does the drawing. And I was demonstrating the fact that you could do an animation and make an animation loop, but we didn't actually have one, other than this loop itself is an animation. So it's just saying, you know, just loop and then checking for while a key is not pressed. So you have the ability to check for a key press at every step of the loop, and then draw some stuff, and then sleep for a few milliseconds or whatever. So I'm gonna extract this and make it a widget. So I'm gonna call it a spinner, and this is just to give us a visual test to show that the new system is working. Okay, so this will be the render method for the spinner. So extends UI widget. And I believe that means I've already imported tangents from JKVM UI. So that gives me this word extends, as well as defines what a UI widget is. So this should be how you create a widget. It is also sleeping for 150 seconds. I'll leave that in for now. I'm going to leave this code exactly that is, but obviously in an event loop, you want things to run very, very quickly, because if you have two of these animations running, you don't want one of them to to sleep for 150 seconds and the other one to sleep for 150 seconds, because then you're sleeping for 300 seconds. What you want is for them both to update at the same time. So we'll actually put two of these on the screen, maybe in different colors or something, and get them working. Okay, so we've extended UI widget and then update. We really could so we're going to put an S. So S is create is, and I believe a widget doesn't have a super method. But if it did, we can say create. I believe you would say create UI widget. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look that up because if you say this, it's gonna execute in the namespace of the UI widget. So I'm not exactly sure how you do a super call. So I'm going to look that. I'm going to add that onto my list of things to look up and explain. To do how to call. Oh, I said it. To do how to call super in J. I actually do not know the answer to that. So I will look that up, and next time I need to do that, I will do so. But in the meantime, we don't actually have a. Yeah. Okay. I'm here. UI IJS. The create method is actually doesn't do anything, so I don't actually need to call it anyway. So I'll just skip that for now, and we'll make this a capital letter. So this is the spinner that I want to initialize. The text that's going to be rotating. This is really a marquee, right? So marquee, is that how you spell it? UI marquee. Just double check. Marquee, is that how you spell it? Am I crazy to think that that is the name of a sliding? Okay, whatever. I could have sworn that was the name of it. Okay, maybe because old like movie theaters have that on top of the thing. I don't know. We'll call it a spinner for now. Spinner, and I'm using a capital U for the name of the namespace. The text to rotate. Okay, S. And so on every tick, we are going to say that rotate the text. This. If you say hello, then this verb right here, the monadic meaning, is pronounced reverse. So it reverses it, and then if you put a number in front of it, you're rotating it. So it's moving the first letter to the end of the line. So if I put here, then I do one, it moves that first character to the end. So it's rotating. So rotate the text. And then in the render, I now call it S with a capital S, and that should be it. I don't need to restore the cursor position anymore because I'm inside of a widget, and we don't need to worry about raw mode because widgets, the app framework handles that. Sleep is we're gonna keep doing that, but for now. But obviously that is not the right thing for a animated system to do. So we do want to set the foreground and background colors, and these are now using. No, actually that's fine. But I think I'm trying to move towards using these new things that take palette colors using negative numbers. So that's BG without the C at the end. I see we have a new person. So hello, new person. I can't see who you are, but hello. Welcome. And so now we're going to do the same thing here. The same thing here. These are all like ANSI color codes that I know by heart. So like 4, well, I used to know by heart. I believe 4 is a blue color. 9 would be, I'm sorry, 4 is, I actually do not know. I would think that foreground 9 would be a light red color. Foreground 15 is light white, and same. Well, we'll see what happens. So now in my application, this is all stuff that really ought to be in its own little widget file, so I'll put that there later. I'll extract that later. But we're going to say S0 is equal to co-new UI spinner. And really, we want to call the name on it, but let's see y, and then how about we put I think you can say 5. Like if you want to like overwrite a number, you can say like y is equal to 3, and so if y is equal to 3, if you pass in y, it should give you 5. It does not. But if we make 5 colon, right? So if we made it a verb, then we can override that thing. So I'm going to make this a verb by using the rank infinity. And then if y is the empty string, so if y matches the empty string, then I will set it to this, and otherwise you can pass in whatever you want. So we can have one that is that spinner and another one that is. I usually, if I'm going to do that, I'll say if I'm going to initialize, I usually say UI spinner co-new and then reverse the arguments and put in hello world or whatever. Hello world. Okay, and then we add each of these to the app, which is again is in Z. It does not need to be in Z. So we'll say S0, S1, and ed are all parts of this app. XY ed, so ed is going to be at the very top of the screen. And let's make XY of S0 is going to be, let's say, just 5, 5, and S1 is going to be at 3, 3, whatever. Oh, yeah, so that should be like directly underneath the editor. Okay, so if this works, then we should see these two things spinning right off the bat. But we have to wait for this part. We have to wait for the macro to stop playing. So we're going to see the macro play, and then we're going to see these things run if it works. So let's find out. J. Rupper. Hello world. We do our thing. Blah blah blah. Oh, okay. Raw 1. Value error app. Oh, okay. So now we know why we need app to be in the Z locale. App Z needs to be in Z. It's in Z because so loop KVM can see it. To do fixes. All right, let's I'm going to add that to my list. Oops. Yeah, this is right. I just meant the wrong thing. So this is my plan for the editor to do fix loop KVM. So left argument does not need to be in the Z locale. I'm not sure what that means exactly. I'm doing a lot of experimental stuff here, or a little bit of experimental stuff here. Playing with different namespaces at a time. Okay, if I say anything that's like completely weird or whatever, please feel free to ask questions, because I don't know what you guys know or don't know, or feel free to ask about anything I say. And if I see a question, I will respond to it. Otherwise, I will just keep talking like this. What do I do what do I plan to do with the finished editor? Right now, I plan to make videos with it. So if other people want to make videos with it, then maybe I would turn it into something that other people could use, either an open source tool that people can contribute to, or maybe some kind of I can't see that it would become a commercial product in the console. Nobody who buys commercial products would be using presentation tools in the console. But maybe there's a demand for a more interesting programming product, that programming presentation product that either people could contribute to, and we could build a community around it that might attract some attention, or if there was a demand for me in particular to do all the work, then maybe I could sell a support license or something. But I don't really have any plan. Yes, I will give it to you as open source. It's open source now. It's right here. You can go here and you can get this thing. It doesn't. You won't be able to use it very well unless you watch the show and learn how to fix it. But in a few episodes, hopefully, by the time the show is finished, then we will have a working product. Okay, back to back to this. So hopefully this time it'll work. Did I change anything? Just double check. I didn't. Yes, I moved it to the app namespace, and I foolishly. I'm sorry. I moved app to the Z namespace here. I think this is kind of a kludge. I don't like that I have to do this. But that's how it is at the moment. So here we go. Hello world. I believe that fixed the problem. So once this animation finishes running. Well. Oh, I know what the problem is. When you initially they're one character wide, so this one is I'm not sure why there are not two of them, but there should be. We have to tell the framework how big the widget is. So the width of this widget is the length of S. So one more time. And why do I not have two of them, though? Okay, so also when we update, then we have to say R is equal to 1 to refresh it. Not R, not a local R, but not this S. This needs to be a global, or not global, but a member S. So we need to use the equal colon. We should render it, and this should be working, but with a long delay, with running half as fast as it ought to. Let's see. I should probably. I don't need this to play that long delay there. Let's remove that. And it's still not working. Okay. Oh, and because we need to tell it that it is active. So these are active widgets. There we go. That's okay. Let's try that again. Hello world. A mystery. Okay. All right. Let's find out. S0 is a thing. Is it visible? Yes. Is it active? Is it in need of a refresh? Yes. Is it active? Yes. XY is 5,5. And is it, what is the width and what is the height? Those are all the conditions that we should need to make this display. Oh, I see, because I'm in a loop. I'm looking for key press. I don't need that. All right, so this is one tick of this is one step of that loop. All right, so you guys should have caught that for me. This is pair programming. You're supposed to tell me all the stupid mistakes I make. All right, that's okay. I don't really expect anyone to be watching it closely at this hour. There we go. So now we have two animations working. This looks nothing like C++. It certainly does not. That's why I thought it would make a good show. All right, so what we see here, we've got two different animations running at the same speed, and they're actually running half as quickly as they should because they're both doing a sleep. I'm going to remove that sleep. And these should run very quickly now, like ridiculously quickly. Yes. That is ridiculously quick. Okay. So, and I was right. It's a light red and a light blue. So yeah, these are ANSI colors. It used to have 16 colors only on your screen. I had them all memorized at the time. Okay. So now what we want is eventually we'll fix the time on these things, but we want those to be running while this is running, and that's not happening. So to make that happen, we have to do what I just did, where I took a while loop and I moved it to the update and render routines. We're going to do the same thing for the editor. So let's move to edit.ijs. So let's see. I think that this is exactly the same thing. This is exactly right. We're going to have we're going to keep this function, and so telling the editor this says this is like the syntax is like editor or ed.do in C++ or whatever. It's an object called ed, and we're telling it to do something, and we're passing it. So in C++, this would be ed.do macro. I'll leave this here for posterity for new people on the stream in other languages. And so right now this goes into a loop, and that loop has to finish before the application itself comes to life. But what we want to do now is we want to move this this notion of doing that of doing the macro to the event loop. So what needs to happen is we need to have so I'm going to call macro is the macro we're currently playing. There's no particular reason these are all uppercase. That's just kind of my convention. I don't know what other people do in J, but I'm using uppercase for like the member variables of an object. Macro is the macro we are currently playing, and I could have a flag, but I could also have insert, navigate, insert, quote. How about I just add a new mode called play, and that way no, I can't. Hang on a second. because mode is a feature of the player, not of the let me think about this for a second. Mode is a feature of the editor, but it is not yet hooked up to that. So right now we do not. The editor is not actually acting like an editor. It is acting like Emacs, where you have control keys that you press control something to move the cursor around, and then you just type to insert. And so it's always in insert mode, but it has control keys to move things around. And that, I think, I don't see any reason to remove that, but also there should be the ability to treat this as if it were a modal editor, where we are using the Vim keys and putting things. So mode is going to be a feature of the editor as it is live. but it is also something that is used while we are playing through a macro. So I think for now, I'm just going to have a p equals 0. Are we playing a macro? Is a macro playing? And probably we'll wind up changing that to some other more, something more than a flag at that in the future. But okay, so we have. Actually, you know what? we have a flag for that. A is the flag for that. A says it's animating. So if the macro is playing, then it's animating. Okay, so in that case, what do should say is do should say A is equal to 1. So go into animation mode, start animation mode. Start animation mode. Macro is equal to y. And the macro to play. And then we need a cursor inside of that thing. So I is equal to 0, which is this I right here. The index into the macro, current character index, current macro character. Wow. Or how we call it, index into macro / instruction pointer. And I think this is all we need to I think this is all do needs to do. Yes, that's all it needs to do. And then now in update, this becomes update. So we're defining this here. You don't have to do this, but I just like to keep in my initializer. I like to, or my constructor, I like to keep all the maybe put this as -1 or something like that to indicate that we're not using it yet. But there we go. So on update, we're going to say. I'll leave that here. So Q is still going to be the quote character for now, or question mark is Q. The variable Q assigned to the question mark is going to be the quote character, and we're going to say C is equal to macro at Y. All right, so if we have reached the end of the macro, so if C is less than the length of the macro, then do the following. Sorry, if I is less than the length of the macro, then C is equal to the ith item in the macro. We don't need to refresh anymore because this is going to be handled by the application framework. And then there we go. So that should all be the same. Let me just double check. All this should be the same. All this should be the same. All this should be the same. The sleep I'm going to leave in here now, but it needs to go away, but it should be the same for now. I mean, I'm going to leave it for now, but it needs to go away, and then this should go away. So that's it. That's all we need to do. And I believe that I'm going to make the bet now that this works. So let's see. I think this should now show the animation playing for the editor while those other two animations are running. Let's see. Nope. Control error. So I made an if statement, but I never ended the if statement. Okay, so that's the end of this. Let's see, select. That's the end of the select. Am I crazy to think that's? Hang on. That's correct. So then in here is, that's correct. That's correct. That's correct. I've got continue that is not in the loop. Okay. Return. Okay, I think that was my problem. Oh yeah, and in fact, that's actually what the error was showing me had I spent 2 more seconds looking at it. Usually when I get a control error, it's because I forgot to put the end, I accidentally deleted the end, the keyword end for something. So that's right, and then it just occurred to me that we have to handle the else condition here. And so else, if we've reached the end of the macro, then we are no longer active and we can end. But also we need to refresh, so we need to set r is equal to 1. So that should now work. And I believe now when I run this, I'm betting again that when I run this, I will see the animation playing at the exact same time as the other 2 spinner animations. I see the texts. Stop. We need to do one more thing. We need to say I is equal to I plus 1. And there we go. We have animations playing while we are in the event loop. Hooray! Okay. All right, so that's the main thing I wanted to accomplish. All right, so let's do that. Probably want to ignore keyboard input while the macro is playing. I will move that to the someday maybe. I just will not press those keys for now, but that is something that needs to be, or have the ability to stop, change the, to stop, rewind, etc. Stop, to stop, pause, rewind, pause on pause, rewind, etc. Okay, so that'll come later. So I believe this is done. I'm going to change the speed of player based on timing macros. This is not done. I have one more thing to do, which is this step, right? So what we need to do, I'll just leave this here. We need to, this is a weird way to say it, but we need to handle this timing aspect. So let me play that again and see if it's pausing. It should be pausing, right? It's not pausing. Okay, so we've got 2 different animations here, and we want to control the speed of these animations. We want to be able to give each one of them its own speed. And then the speed. I'm going to check this in, but that's what we need to do. So we need to get the allow speed control per widget and then per keystroke and then per keystroke in the editor. All right, so before I do that, I'm going to check in my code. I was just telling someone yesterday that they should check in their code after every bundle of features is complete and you have a working system. So whenever the system is in working condition and you do that, that's when I say you should commit. So UI edit. Macro play, move macro playback or asynchronous macro playback. Asynchronous macro playback. Semi-asynchronous because we still do have a sleep in there, but and then now we've changed the REPL again, GD, get diff, and then have this. Again, this is kind of like a little scratch thing, but added the spinner widget, added some spinner widgets. Spinner widgets. Okay. Yeah. So. All right, we have this working. No, also, can I type in here? Oh yeah, so I'm actually able to type while this is running. That's nice. Yeah, okay, that makes me happy. That blue is an ugly color. Ugly. Oh, it's because yeah, an invalid keyword is that ugly color. But yeah, So that makes me happy that I can do that. And then as soon as I hit enter, it should all stop, right? Just because that's we're still tied to the keystrokes of the edit button or the editor. Okay. Which is the editor right here. It says when you hit Control Enter, then or the Enter key produces the same thing as Control M, and that just breaks the main keyboard loop. Which obviously is not a long-term solution. Like this is not how it should be working in the future, but that should probably trigger some event that we can trap and handle the change in the text. I have 9 minutes left in the stream. Again, happy to answer any questions. I'm going to, I guess I'm going to try and think through what we need to do for the timing here, if I don't have any questions. So this is very much like a game loop, and what I would do in a game loop is, maybe I should just get this working and then think about where it goes within the framework. So inside one of these spinners and inside the editor, on every update, we're getting a so we're getting a last timestamp. We're getting a delta, like so we want to keep a count of ticks, so like timer, immediate timer. And so on every update, we're going to say t is equal to t plus y. So we're getting, let's go in the app, IJS. I did this yesterday. So yesterday I said, I took this delta, right? So the delta means just a change. So the change in time, dt in your calculus class. We had the old time, we subtract the old time from the new time, and then we reassign then to be the next old time. Okay. And so the difference between those is the time that has happened since we last called update. And since we call update once a frame, this is the time between frames. And it's in seconds. So timer in seconds. Timer in seconds. And so on update, we're going to say t is equal to t plus y. We're going to the delta. And if t is greater than what? If t is greater than the tick speed, so like the alarm, right? You would set an alarm on your clock. So I'm using speed and I'm using a. Is there another? Let's call it speed. We'll give it an actual name. So speed is 0.5. So speed would be the number of seconds between changes, or between animation frames. Do I want to call it FPS? Frames per second, and then I would call it 2? Let's do that. FPS is 2. So you set the FPS, so 1 over the number of frames, 1 over the number of seconds. 1 divided by number of seconds. Or just frames per second. Frames per second. Okay, so if t is greater than the inverse of FPS, do this, else, and then we set the timer to 0. We restart the clock. And otherwise we do nothing, so end, right? All right, so now I'm going to make one of these spin fast and one slow. So let's just S0. So we'll say speed of S0 or FPS of S0 is equal to 10. So we'll make it pretty fast. So one will spin fast, one will spin slow, and let's see what happens. Yep, we got one moving pretty fast here, one moving pretty slow. That's actually kind of too slow to be. let's do that again. And we maybe make. Hang on. Typos can do weird things to your screen here. And J rep. Okay, yeah. So that's kind of silly. Also, I called this width, and for the we want this number here to be. So let's say this is 6. No. Really, we want 2 arguments to this. So you'd want to pass in the width and the string is equal to. So to do multiple assignment in J, you say width and string is equal to, or rather, we want local variables is equal to y, and if the string is empty, then we do that, and then the width is actually going to be equal to the width of the widget is not going to be the length of the string. We want the width to be w, right? And so now when we invoke these, we have to pass in a UI widget. So we have to pass in a value. So we're passing in width. So we want that one with 6 widgets. The current one has 6 widgets. This one right here is six characters wide, and then we're not going to give it a special string. And then sorry. I'm confusing myself because I find I'm thinking as you increase the FPS, right? Frames per second should be. I may have a bug here. I'm maybe confusing myself. I'll think about this off stream when I'm not trying to talk, but make sure. Whatever. I've got it right. All right. So, but anyway, what I want is width minus 2. Because we got 2 characters for these, so now we should be able to specify the width of this thing. So if I say hello world, so I really want to pass in a longer string here. So I'll make this one longer, and hello world, welcome to the ridiculously early J morning show. Okay. And now if I run this, there we go. Okay, so that was silly, but the point of all that was just I noticed that was a bug in there. So now we have time, we have speed, we have the ability to do speed. Now think about, for the next episode, how we're going to do this in the framework itself. So that's it. Thanks for joining me. Episodes of this come out every morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. You can catch me here on Twitch, and then I will upload this as well to YouTube. It's youtube.com/c/tangentstorm to find all my stuff. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.